I don't have to do a game. Oh.
We get time.
This game recap. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that out loud?
And welcome to Tigers Minor League Report podcast presented by FanDuel. I am Rogelio, alongside me is Chris Brown and Brandon Day. And we're back to our Monday night thing until the end of the year, pretty much, essentially, at this point, because we were avoiding doing this because, quite frankly, minor league wise, it was kind of like Kevin McGonigle. I mean, Kevin McGonigle is still going to be the theme of the show, but there's a lot more going on than just Kevin McGonigle. There's John Peck. There's other things to talk about. And so, but yeah, also not to mention one of our things we talk about all things Detroit Tigers, not just the minor leagues, it's the big league team as well. And so putting it into is Chris also did the slides. So for those who are fans of the slides,
just a couple updated on who's doing stuff in the spring.
Yeah. So, and then we have the debut of the Stackcast card. So for those who are not on Twitter, I decided to. I got some coding help from Jerry a little bit, but Jerry's still giving me a lot of the credit. But I'm working on these Stackcast cards, and so I don't know if anybody has seen them on there, but I'll give an example of what they look like. I did my first one on an offensive player, so I'll actually debut that right now. But these cards are basically what they look like. Is essentially capturing a snapshot in time, whether it's Stackcast or whatever the case is. I'm still playing with the formatting a little bit as I try to get to do this here real quick. But for those who are unfamiliar with it, essentially the goal is to share data as quickly as possible after the game, kind of show what we have going on, and it captures the whole thing in time. And so we wanted to do was just essentially, if you're kind of curious on, let's see here. Oh, that's not what I want to do at all.
They do look really cool.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a labor of love a little bit, if you will. But it's also, like I said, I still haven't perfected them. I'm very my own worst critic when it comes to these things. Let me see here. I'm trying to get to come up on.
So thank you very much, Sammy Mac 19.
Yeah. Thank you. By the way, let's see here. What does it give you? The Frickers building.
Off the Frickers building.
Yes.
I also want to give a special shout out to Deadly Ninja Beast. How is Peck measuring up? I think that's a very, dry reference to the British measurement of dry weight. A peck. What is it? Four pecks in a bushel?
Yeah, something like that. Yep. Yeah.
Hopefully that's a joke. Knowing Deadly Ninja Beast.
Yeah.
But
he's a Daily Ninja Bees brings a unique sense of humor to the show that I appreciate. We have a lot of people like that in our atmosphere, if you will, that are like that. So here we go. So here's what this is one for Kevin McGonigle has right now. But just basically what his batting average is, hard contact, his WRC is it? Yeah, it's average. Well, not the average. Don't worry about that. The average distance is something I couldn't take off there. Yeah. But anyway, basically was role shortstop, leaving no choice. And basically kind of like I said, it's just kind of capturing a snapshot. So number 2 prospect still in the big league camp, just getting things all taken care of. So, but yeah, that's what those look like when we have the pitcher cards. Well, we'll get to those a little later, but how much money do I have to donate for you guys to take Peyton Graham for 1 chicken breast and a protein shake? Well, Sean, we will be there next week, so we can ask him himself. I mean, I thought they should send him to the Dominican Republic and
try to get him something, fatten the boy up a little bit. But we've been talking about that since he was drafted. I really thought by now he would have muscled up somewhat, and obviously I was probably the high man on him, and it's been kind of a bummer because he's like very solid in most respects, but he can't shorten that swing up very much without losing power because he's he's kind of a stick figure out there.
Yeah, I mean, who's muscled up a little bit is John Peck. Peck looks Peck looks like he's like totally ripped. Dave,
John Peck has already convinced me that that was my worst ranking in my prospect reports was John Peck already. And this happens because I do it like right at the beginning of January, and inevitably within 2 weeks of spring training, I'm like, oh, should have been higher on this guy, should have been lower on that guy. And yeah, so far John Peck is looking pretty good.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Chris wrote this last year about Peck. And Chris, what was the exact tweet?
It was just, he didn't make our top whatever list, top 39, top 44, whatever it was heading into last season. But we then did a list of our sort of sleepers and favorites. And he made that list because of some of the underlying data that he put up in Lakeland and watching him play a little bit and, the speed and the defense. And yeah, he's continued to improve. I do still think there are enough flaws there to keep him from being a regular, but he's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting it, in play for hits, and he's playing good defense for the most part. So he's a good player. He's to me, he's sort of like a mix of Gage Workman and Ryan Kreidler, if that makes sense. Kreidler back in the day was hitting home runs the opposite field too. And we're like, whoa. There are tools there. I think there's less swing and miss than either of those two guys, but there's still a little bit too much chase. Not even chase. It's more like swing and miss at breaking balls in the zone.
Yeah, I was going to say chase is a fair thing to say because, I mean, last year it was Binghamton that really kind of in the playoffs kind of exploited him a little bit, and he was chasing a lot of stuff away. But, I mean, but truth be told, I wasn't really worried about that because he stepped in when Trey Cruz went to Toledo and did a fine job holding down the infield. I think he was a better defensive player than what they were. I mean, I think that he really shored up the left side of the infield last year with McGonigle back there at third base. And so,
and if you can play big league shortstop, and it looks like he can also play third, he can play second. He's probably athletic enough to play the outfield if you need him. You get a lot of leeway, a lot of grace there. And if you have some other skills to go along with, and he does, he's an above average runner. And we said he's hitting the ball hard. You're going to get chances. He's probably a big leaguer for sure. So it's just a matter of, how much more can he improve to the point where is he just a utility guy? Is he a second division regular? Can he be a regular? We'll find out. But yeah, it's been a nice development. Seventh rounder, not bad.
Yeah, I mean that comes from the Danny Worth school. I mean Danny Worth was a former Tiger.
Pepperdino.
Who's coaching over at Pepperdine. And so Danny Worth was getting some references today, especially with
and
Todd.
John Peck comes from Pepperdine.
Yep. And so that was where it was funny hearing the guys, Todd Jones, talk about all his pitcher crushes today and everything on the 1270, and that was also them Gleason ranting and raving about the system right now and all the infield talent, and that kind of leads me into what we were going to talk about to start off with Max Clark. And Brandon, I know we haven't got your chance on Chain Gate, if you will. I think you probably think the whole thing is ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I mean, I on the one hand, it's probably good for him to get an experience like that because, Max Clark is pretty well loved by the kids and he's, built this big social media following for himself. And I don't think that has anything to do with his commitment to baseball or how hard he works or anything along those lines. Everyone seems to love Max Clark, his coaches. You guys have, had him on and talked to him, twice now, right? So, I mean, I don't have any concerns about Max Clark's character or any of this nonsense. Okay, he's flashy. Some guys, are just style more that way, and that's fine. I could not care less. But yeah, I mean, the stretch of okay, he was bedazzled by the diamonds, and that's why he dropped two high fly balls. We see people drop high fly balls in Lakeland every spring. It just happens. It's where the sun is, it's the angle, it's the the humidity, the whole shebang seems to just always kind of wreck a few guys early in camp, especially. And we've watched Max Clark play outfield a ton. It's not representative at all of his defense. And all I can say about it is that, maybe he can at least take that into account and kind of understand the type of kind of vile crap that is going to come at him sometimes, because it happens to, all kinds of players who haven't really done anything wrong other than play bad or make a bad play. So maybe, it's a good experience for him to kind of get that out of the way. Know that there's going to be, some people who aren't big Max Clark fans out there. And, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like, watching like grown adult men like try to make a living off, ragging on Max Clark and on X was just like, yeah, Dan Clark. I mean, Fry, like all these dudes like have been hating on Max Clark all along. And, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, like it was leaking over into, I'm sure like you guys got questions about it. We had people commenting on it like, oh, he doesn't care, like just buying what was being sold online, immediately about him. And yeah, I mean, it's not like Max Clark is some mystery. Like Max Clark is maybe one of the best known prospects in baseball, as far as like, his personality, what he stands for. And Max Clark does a lot of good things, off the field as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody who knows him has any questions about Max Clark's character or drive to be good, or thinks he's just out there, hot dogging it up. He made a bad play or two, and I do think it kind of got in his head a little bit. And he'll be fine. He wasn't going to make the team. None of this matters, and it will probably all be forgotten. And I'm glad to see that he's back wearing the chains, because as long as it's irritating the right people, I'm kind of in favor of it.
Yeah, the bummer is that he actually got off to like a nice start to the spring. He got an infield hit in that game against the Yankees, which was like, okay, that's showing his speed. And then the next game against the Orioles, he got the game tying hit in the 9th inning, I think with 2 outs. Like it was a classic, like Max Clark getting the job done. And then he didn't get another hit for the rest of the spring. He made a couple iffy defensive plays, and he still made some solid contact, but he wasn't himself. He had 5 strikeouts, I think, no walks. Like he's a guy who walks a lot. And each of the last 2 years, he started off slow and kind of rough, and I got worried about him, and to the point where I got in trouble with the Clarklings. And then right around June, in each of the last 2 years, he really picked it up, and by the end of the year, he's looking like a top 10 prospect in baseball. So I'm not worried about him in the slightest. I don't know if he'll go back to Erie or Toledo, but he'll probably be in Detroit in late August.
Yeah. I could see him going back to Erie just because, whoever is playing center field for Toledo is going to be the next man up. And it might be, they might just want Trey Cruz to play a ton of center field. Meanwhile, you have Max Clark at AA playing every day for a month or two and then coming up to Toledo, like something like that. But yeah, I mean, his time is going to come.
What do you think of John Peck? The big pecker? I don't know about that.
I'm going to have to run that by him. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm fine with just calling him Pex.
Yeah, Pex.
Pex.
I mean, I'm sure they call him Pecker.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's the team nickname. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
No, and the thing about Max Clark is what's fascinating about this all, and I said this last week, was he's not on the 40-man roster, so none of it really matters at this point. Mm-hmm. But there is but you guys are bringing up a good point. He was brought up, went to minor league camp, whereas Tyrell Alonso went to AA. Who was the other cuts today? There was
How You Lead to Toledo and Eduardo Valencia to Toledo as well.
Yeah. So they were very specific on what camp they were going to, and Clark. Who knows what Clark, might go. Chris's prediction of him going to Erie may happen. But it's
it's not a reflection on. It's not a reflection on him. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And so that kind of, and really that's where it is. I mean, if we're looking at where he could improve, he knows what he's got to do. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on in camp right now to focus on. Especially also today, Bryce Rainer was taking batting practice, and that was Jonathan Mayo. MLB Pipeline had a. Although I thought his video was interesting, I thought he could have done a better job of video wise. Yeah, he had an elbow. He also had an elbow kind of thing on.
Yeah. Well, Mayo is out there. He's probably doing a couple stories, and he's talks to Max Clark all the time, and so I'm sure he's getting the dope on the backfields and doesn't want to spoil it with. I mean, like he'll put teaser videos out there, but it's it's one swing, and we're dissecting the Bryce Rainer swing like no other. Like, oh boy, I know. Look at him dipping his hands, and that thing is really loopy through the zone. And it's like, it didn't look like a great swing, but I'm not worried too much about a guy who's coming back from shoulder surgery and presumably just kind of taking, live reps for the first time in the last week or so. So, we'll see.
I mean, really, it's just about getting kind of a status update because. I don't know. Maybe you guys had heard some things, but I hadn't heard really anything about him the first couple of weeks, and it was sort of like, is he good to go? Like, where are we at exactly? So it was just nice to see him out there taking a few hacks, and we'll go from there. It's gonna be a bit of a slow road to start the season for him.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about that at all. And what I'm interested to see next week when we get to camp is see the likes of Andrew Sears and what have you. And the reason why is because we'll get to spring break. We'll break down the spring breakout roster here in a second. So basically, what we're doing next week, by the way, is we're going to leave Wednesday. Thursday is we're still trying to figure out Thursday. We emailed Tigers PR trying to figure our schedule out for that. But Friday, so here's what we're doing Friday. We're going to Clearwater for the Tigers and Phillies. Then we're driving from Clearwater, which is an hour away from Bradenton. So we're going to do a doubleheader Friday. So
right on.
Yeah. So Saturday is the final home game of the season or spring training for the Tigers. And then, so we're going to try to get as much baseball as we can. So, Thursday, my goal is to get in the backfields and try to get some video and talk to some folks back there. So that's our goal. Yeah,
that'd be ideal. I mean, that's the thing. Like we really like getting videos of these young guys that you might not be able to see otherwise. Let's get Chris Rodriguez. Let's get some Jordan Yost. Let's get some Oliveto. We can talk about that later. But Michael Oliveto got in a game today, which is fun. I think they do that as kind of a reward. I think generally for these really young guys, like there's no reason to bring him over other than like, hey, this will be a cool experience for you. And he put the ball in play, which is. I'll take that. I mean,
that's the first at bat where we've ever seen him as a professional. And
Well, I mean, we technically didn't see him.
Well,
but yeah.
Have you seen? I think I retweeted at one point some rando. I shouldn't say that, but like some news person from like New York tweeted video of Oliveto taking BP at Comerica.
Oh no, I hadn't seen that. No.
I'll see if I can find that and put it in the link here because I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. It's it's a grainy video, but you're like, well, that looks good. Let's see.
No, but I mean that was it was cool to have him out there today though, just because in the same vein of like spring breakout, like we didn't see Bryce Rainer at all, post draft, and then boom, he's in the spring breakout game and hit the laser, and we're all like, wait, what's the Stackcast on that? And, and then the hype machine just erupts, so maybe Oliveto will spark the hype machine.
Yeah, I mean Terry's been saying that, somebody else too was saying in the backfields he's just been all he does is hit, but again that's also the backfield, so you can't really take that for.
I mean, I'm here for Jordan Yost coming out and like shutting everyone up about the power and like looking like like, oh wait a minute, no, just like with McGonigle, everybody was wrong, no, it's at least average power now, and and he's making contact with everything. Like I'll be here for all the hype when that goes down.
Speaking of hype though, so one of the things I wanted to get to a little bit was Max Anderson today, and Max Anderson and Jace Young in camp, and Jace Young has blocked us on Twitter.
That is 100% my fault, I believe.
Oh no.
And I'm sorry. I apologize.
If he was wise, he'd block everyone, on Twitter and just not be there as a player.
But look, I mean, honestly, stats didn't lie about that either. But I was like, I didn't think we were that hard on him. But
I mean, we're not mean to anybody. I mean,
we're not mean to anybody.
Like if he doesn't know, he's got to start making a lot harder contact in the air and handling. We've all talked about it. He knows what he has to do.
Yeah, and essentially, and maybe it was too harsh at times, but like we never try to make it personal, right? But I think him changing his swing is kind of the point, right? Like I'm glad he was able to do that, and he's put it into effect. And he and Max Anderson have both put in a ton of work at getting better on defense, and give him a ton of credit for that. Anderson has looked solid out there at both second and third so far. I mean, there's been some miscues, but they look like viable sort of average-ish labor style infielders. So that's fine. And with Young, just, getting any kind of positive contact from him is good. And then we want to see a little bit of the power come soon.
That was a nice play there by Anderson there.
Well, he can be mad at me too, because someone asked me about Jace Young the other day, and I was just like, I still don't think I've seen him hit a single ball hard in the air in his entire time in the major leagues or in major league camp. Like I've just never seen it. I watch all the games, and I know I've watched him in Toledo. I know he can do it. It just never seems to happen. And the gradient in pitching is not so steep that he shouldn't at least like have hit a couple homers by now, or had something go right. It just hasn't happened. So. I don't know. I'm just glad to see. Yeah, he's playing some first base right now. He looks a little more athletic. Anderson still, Anderson's like a solid defender. He just lacks range. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. He's not really ideal at second base or third base for that reason. But you could play him there. It's not like he's going to kill you. Has he looked a little bit more disciplined? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him to like make these kind of judgments. I pointed out, I did like, like mid-camp roster projections, like where we're at on Bless You Boys today. And, I think coming into today's game, Parker Meadows led the team with 22 plate appearances. It's like we're talking about like 4 or 5 games worth of, I mean, you can't judge anything. I tell everyone, I rant about this every spring. Like, don't get excited about the first weeks at camp because they don't really mean anything unless there's like a tangible physical change in a player. And but it's just hard to do, but like nothing that's happened so far really matters that much.
Yeah, and I wrote this is, by the way, this is the Michael Alabado
oh yeah.
I'll play. That sounds really nice.
That does sound good. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a thing about that. Oh, I actually lost my train of thought there for a second. I was just gonna say the biggest takeaway for Parker Meadows, and I wrote about this last night on the roundtable, is that essentially the Stackcast data has proven he's an elite defender, and you can count on that. You can put that in the bank and what have you, even with a small sample size. But a lot of people don't want him to. It feels like a lot of people don't want him to make the team. They don't think he's a major league hitter, and people for like just based off the fact that he even was injured last year. So does that matter to a certain extent? That's where we have that, Brandon. That's where the stats offensively and spring training, matter or not in that case.
I mean, he has to show something. I mean, he can't just be like absolutely dreadful hitting every single ball on the ground, dreadful. But I mean, Parker Meadows has a full season of plate appearances in the major leagues, right? Like 650 plate appearances. I think he has a 96 WRC plus. All he has to do is kind of be around that to remain like a useful center fielder that you maybe, you pinch hit for sometimes. We need to bring it back to the center, which is that the Tigers are not going to be a good defensive ball club. Like, I mean, I think we can agree on that. Like, you've got Dylan Dingler as one of the best defensive catchers in the game, and you might not have a single above average defender anywhere else on the field. That's entirely possible. There was a great article from Sports Info Solutions today kind of talking about how the Tigers have gotten it done with positioning. And, that has kind of been their strength. But, it's not going to bother me if they take Parker Meadows because they want him to play center field when there's a right-handed pitcher on the mound. And then if we're behind in the game, you pinch hit for him. You got a bunch of other guys that can play a reasonably passable center field. Veerling, maybe Wenzel Perez makes the team. Doesn't really look like that. But, I mean, we can't just neglect defense entirely. Like, Parker Meadows can't go out there and put up like a 50. He can't hit like 190 with no power. But I mean, he's done it before, and I think we should probably just wash last year. And I would expect that the Tigers kind of feel the same way about that. They're not looking at him like, oh, if we don't see a home run, pretty soon, he's not going to make the team. They see this dude all day, every day. They know what he's about and how he's actually looking. And, I'm totally comfortable with them deciding one way or the other. If Parker Meadows needs to go down and they want him to take a month of plate appearances at Toledo to try to get into some kind of a groove, that's fine too. But, I mean, he's been in the league a couple of years now. He's 25, 26. I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of a breakout or like anything's going to change. You might just have like a dude who's like a slightly below average hitter who is a plus center fielder, and you can use that. That's still a very useful player.
I think I don't know if you saw it's Mike Smith, right? The former Tigers front office guy. And by the way, it's kind of fun being able to have a guy like that.
Mike's been a great addition to
yes to Tigers Twitter. I know a lot of people have abandoned Twitter for good reason. But yeah, have somebody with that sort of front office experience, and also seems very fanish. Like he's really like a hardcore fan. Like talking about Marco Jimenez and stuff. What's that, right?
I was to say he does work for something. I don't know. I'm not gonna give the name away for what it's doing. It's crazy if you want to.
Oh, okay. But he might have. Maybe he needed a decade off or however long it's been. I don't know when he actually left the front office, but yeah, maybe he just needed time to to like dive in again.
But the point he made was that if the Tigers want to, like, Parker Meadows has like a year and 7/10 of a year or whatever, like 1.7 years of service time, and Wenzel Perez has like 2. So if they send Perez down for the first month of the season, they'll get an extra year of Wenzel down the road, whereas that's not a concern with Meadows. So that could be something that like a small tiebreaker if that's in their head. I don't know. I wouldn't picture Wenzel sticking on the roster the full season anyway, but who knows?
Yeah, probably not unless there's an injury. But yeah, it's just he doesn't do any of the things better than anyone else. He's just sort of like a nice collection of, like solid hitter, slightly above it, or maybe average or better, slightly in right field, a little below average in center. Like he's useful.
Switch hitter. He's a switch hitter. That's what makes him useful. But then you have Trey Cruz who can do the same thing now, but also could play the infield. There's a difference. Winfield used to play the infield, but we all know the Yips took over, and that's where Trey Cruz is like. There's a difference right there. But
we don't know Trey Cruz can hit. If he's going to hit. And we know Wenzel probably will be at least average. I mean, I feel pretty good about Trey Cruz at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Wenzel can't throw 15 feet from second, but is throwing dimes from the wall in right field.
Yeah, he just needs to air it out. It's always those guys who have that soft throw issue. It's very weird. Shout out to John Lester trying to throw to first base and stuff.
Just anytime, you see that a lot of times with pitchers, right? They just get caught in between. They don't know if they should fire it. They don't know, they sort of just flow it overhead. Yeah.
Yeah, they get a little butterfly over to you, or all of a sudden it's like 90 from 50 feet away.
I feel like that's something that even any of us who've ever played like softball or baseball in any capacity can relate to that feeling. Like, oh no. I'm in between. Anyway. Yeah. So that's where we're at. But a lot of these, I don't know. Should we bring up the main topic? Should we bring up the big guy, the man of the hour, the hero that we've all been waiting for, Kevin McGonigle?
Yeah,
because everything runs through Kevin McGonigle to a degree, like the roster decisions, right? Because if Kevin McGonigle's coming north, he's your starting shortstop. You're playing him every day. Now you have McKinstry and Baez, who are both like roving now. That opens up a lot of different options for the roster, because either one of them could play pretty much anywhere in the outfield. McKinstry's not really a center fielder, but he's he's as fast as Javi. So all of a sudden all these options open up. Then it's easier to have Jahmai Jones just hit lefties and be a pinch hitter and have some specialty, and have Meadows, for defensive purposes only, maybe in center field. And that, I just think that opens up all these possibilities. And I mean, I think you guys would agree with me. Like, there is not a single thing Kevin McGonigle needed to do that he has not done so far. He looks so much better to me at shortstop this year. Like the mistake levels are way down.
Yeah.
The extra steps are way down. The flinches, the double clutch, haven't seen it. Decision making's been good. Circling around balls so that he's moving toward first base as much as possible to kind of bolster the arm strength, which is just going to be what it is. He's not going to go deep in the hole and make Manny Machado level throws to first base. He's going to give up some singles there, but he looks like he's going to play in every other capacity just fine. Like probably average defense or very close to it. And dude looks like the best hitter on the team, guys.
He does. Yeah. And flat out, here's the thing. Like you nailed it right on the button. He has been the best hitter, not only in the minor league camp, but all of camp. And you look at his home run in the Dominican Republic with a fastball, 98 miles an hour, center cut, and he blasted it. Was 461 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, that was ridiculous. And then today, and then the nuke today, where again it's professional at bats. It's like he's having, and I sometimes hate using that cliche. Slams.
Good work, Jason Beck, for getting that.
Oh, Jason Beck.
Yeah.
Jason Beck.
At least there was something there. Yeah.
Thank you. Shout out to Jason Beck on that. But yeah, there's you look at the quality of contact he's made, the fielding too. He played third today. He's been looking fine everywhere he's gone. Anywhere in the infield, and the third, I had reservations about him playing third because I thought perhaps he might be suited at second. But no, he's proven that, and I think Hinch is testing him everywhere. They batting him lead off, fine, and then Evan got some crap today because he's 0 for 5 against changeups.
Yep.
Well, so you made a couple of really good points in there, and I think he's making the team. Just the way they're treating him, the way that Hinch batting him leadoff in the DR is such a sign to me. Like this is the most high pressure thing we can throw at you in spring, right? This is a loud crowd screaming against you, really, and he goes out there and just has a monster game. And then the next day he gets carved up a little bit by Brian Bayo's changeups, and that's a lesson. But they keep playing him. And to your point, Raj, they played him at third today with Framber Valdez on the mound because they're anticipating a bunch of ground balls, maybe pulled ground balls. The Rays didn't really, cooperate by sending 15 lefties, but they're trying to get him every opportunity to screw up, and he hasn't done anything wrong yet. Like, he's had a couple strikeouts. He's working long at bats. He's hitting for power. He's hitting for average. He's playing good defense. It's like, there's if they don't bring him up, it has nothing to do with what's been going on in the field.
Yeah, I think AJ Hinch, like that quote today about, every at bat is a singular event for him. He has a plan and he's executing the plan. Like AJ Hinch talks about him like Jim Leland would talk about Ian Kinsler. Like, this is the gritty, like, the guy who's doing everything right on the squad. And yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to it. And yeah, the question just comes down to all the other questions. Like, do you want to start his service time clock? If you sign him to a long-term extension, that's necessarily going to push the Tigers over the luxury tax? And then all the competitive balance picks they might get from guys leaving in free agency, get bumped down to the third or fourth round or something, instead of being, there's all these like attendant factors. But as far as like, is Kevin McGonigle basically ready to go? I mean, yes. And it's just they don't have another option to play shortstop, and that shouldn't be the concern, but that's also a part of it. Like the team is just obviously better with him playing shortstop right now. And I don't think there's any way to spin that other than by, businessy sort of concerns right now.
Yeah. And look, here's the thing about McGonigle too, about the spring that I have also noticed, especially his time at third and short. He's always had an arm. Like, he's always been able to throw fine and throw accurately. And Brandon, you were saying earlier that he's kind of jumping on the ball quicker versus kind of like waiting for the ball to come to him, which is sometimes I saw that last year in Akron a couple times during the series, where even in the playoffs against Altoona, where see Connor Griffin was just great, grace, just out there playing the position and covering so much ground between the behind second base and short. It's just doing such a great thing. And credit to, I know George Lombard's the outfield, but the Tigers infield coaches too do a good job of helping these guys and improve on the defense. And in that kind of sense with Jace Young, for example, Jace Young's never played first base, and he was part of those 2 back picks yesterday from Thomas Nido. And that's worth mentioning too, because playing first base for a guy that you've been playing second, you've been playing third, and you're playing first base, which is traditionally kind of like I don't want to say big bulky dude, but it's the same kind of stereotype. And Young's not that kind of built like that, and he's playing position that well. I gotta give kudos to that too, because Max Anderson also, who made a nice play that Chris captured of the speedy guy from Toronto. All that being said, the mark improvement and throwing back, the Tigers coaching wise, whatever they're like, this is a big thing that I've noticed in the last couple of years. If there's a guy defensively that was limited before in the past, let's say 2020, 2018, 2019, whatever the case was, that was it. They were done for. You didn't see any kind of improvement. I mean, not even like it maybe a little bit, but I don't recall. Maybe I'm just trying to. I know this is only a few years ago, but I felt like there wasn't that kind of like ability to switch positions like they are right now. And but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just amount of position switching. It kind of like today, for example, I think Peck played short and he played third. And so you see that in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's a great point. And I think when you hear them talk about like Joey Cora and what he brings to the roster and what George Lombard, brings as far as like the positioning side, which I mentioned earlier with the Sports Info Solutions thing, like the Tigers position really well. And they seem to be able to improve like the finer skills to a degree that you never saw before. Guys would get like more mature defensively, and they would make less like dumb mistakes and that kind of thing, and just clean up their game. But now you're seeing guys improve their agility. You're seeing like the finer points, like guys like understanding how to like take the chop steps into the ball, and so that they can transfer and throw like all in one motion. Kevin McGonigle talked a whole bunch in some interview this offseason about what he was working on with Alan Trammell, and he was talking about like the cadence steps like into all these different types of plays, and I was just like, oh, like, I mean, we know Kevin McGonigle was a very smart player, but like, I mean, the guys are going in the weeds with like detail to a degree that I can't really think of us ever really seeing before or hearing them talk about. And I mean, I think it does speak to the fact. I mean, obviously I'm a AJ Hinch honk. I think AJ Hinch is one of the best managers in the game, a great coach, understands the whole prospect from scouting development onward better than most. And he seems to have consistently put together a staff that can teach these guys and improve them. Maybe we haven't seen as much of that in the hitting department as we would love. Shout out Scott Coolbaugh and some of the other guys who've been cast aside along the way. But in most respects, I do think this coaching staff does a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if Max Clark mentioned this on the air. If we talked to him about it, I think he did when we talked to him. But he was talking about how they have measurements for like his like the angle of his ankle on his first step, like all this crazy stuff. And it's like, man, yeah, they must have bonkers data to get these guys better in the here's how you cut off 1/1000th of a second on your first step. Like,
you didn't rotate on your big toe, to this axis. You needed to.
Yeah, and there's something, was trying to acquire baseball cycles. There was something that it was. I'll talk about this. I think it was Todd Jones or Dan Dickerson. I can't remember who said that today. And we got this vibe from Ryan Garko about a month ago. All they think about is baseball. That's all. They're like us. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not trying to be cocky about that, but think about this.
Yeah.
How often, think about this in this perspective. The Tiger minor league account, the official Twitter account, has not been active since we started doing this. Like when we took over, they have done. They're like, you know what? Screw it. They do it better than we do. And I'm sorry, but you know how many times we've seen I'm not saying again. I don't get cocky very often about these things, but it's how often we heard that from the players. Oh yeah, we wait for you guys' feed to come up. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. It's
very cool.
It's really cool. But at the same time, it's also they're just obsessed. I think it was Dickerson or Todd Jones were talking about how they are just insane about George. I think he made a comment. He said George Lombard must be really obsessed with baseball or something to that effect. They were having a good joke. Yes, that's true. I think
it's a passion. It's a passion project. It is. For them. Obviously they're all getting paid, but they're obsessed with it. Just like we. And
imagine if we were doing
all the crazies in the chat here. People are thinking about these things late at night when I'm lying in bed trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, imagine if we're doing this full time. This is just. You know what I'm saying? Luckily I have a job now where thankfully they know I'm a baseball writer on the side and what have you. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we did this full time. I mean, when I was at Woodward, I sort of did, but it was at the same time, I was also living below the poverty level. So technically count. But my point is, imagine if we had that kind of money doing this. I mean,
well,
but you guys, I'd love to do it full time. It'd be great.
Yeah, but again,
I'd also get a lot more sleep too.
Yeah, we got a lot more sleep. But thanks for thanks for everybody that donated to our GoFundMe. We're able to go next week for a couple days. Go ahead.
Well, I'd say yes. We all. When we have podcasts, we write about baseball. We watch tons and tons of baseball. Even then, I think the guys who are playing and coaching have us outstripped by a tenfold because they're getting up at 6 a.m. and working out for 3 hours or whatever, and then going down and practicing and in meetings, and they're getting paid, so that makes it easier for sure. But you just have to absolutely love baseball. And we know, oddly enough, there are some players who don't necessarily love baseball that much, but you really have to love it. And
a lot of these guys are in their 60s, I mean, Alan Trammell's almost 70 years old. I mean, he's up, working out at 4:30, 5 a.m. so that he's already gotten a full workout in before the players get there. So he's loose and ready to go,
Yeah.
I mean, that's commitment and obsession, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pure love and passion for those guys. And it's nice to have people who really love baseball and not people who are, I don't know, we can talk about bad owners some other time, but there's some beauties in baseball right now.
Oh yeah.
Here's by the way, thank you, Sean, for the $5. Let's see here.
Off the Frickers building.
And his question is, ask Chris to say something nice about Jace Young. Is he a torque replacement?
I don't believe he is a torque replacement, no. But it is nice that he has added first base to his repertoire for sure. And as we talked about earlier, his defense in general, he worked hard on it. He looked really rough 2 years ago. He got significantly better on defense last year, and then he didn't get many chances to hit. When he did get those chances, he didn't come through. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge year for him, I think, in one way or another. So we'll see.
So here's the spring numbers for our first stat sheet or slide, if you will. Pex, 7 for 20 with 2 home runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Mentioned Max Anderson earlier. Trey Cruz has had a really good camp. So has Jace Young. Pitcher wise, we haven't really talked about pitchers too much. Tyler Madsen has looked really well, but it looks a little shaky as of late, but he looks kind of more nervous or anything. But the spin rate, all that advanced data looks really good. Velasco has looked, it was a little rough at first, but he's coming around a little bit. But Jesus is pitching well for Team Venezuela. He had 8 strikeouts. I think he set a record with that or something along those lines. But it has looked really good as a non-roster invite. And then Jose Briseño, who will probably be out 4 months, it looks like, with a wrist injury, which sucks really bad. And then Lee's also going to hit the IL with a quad strain. And Lee was also having a good camp too, as well. In terms of defensively, he was at third. Third, he still needs a little work on, but he was still fielding second base pretty well. But yeah, it's unfortunate because these guys are both. Briseño is going to start the year more than likely in Erie with Lorenzo. And Lee, maybe I don't think he had a chance to make the team, but he was maybe considered perhaps a call up, depending on how he was swinging the bat a little bit. But no, that was kind of a big blow for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, just really sad for Lee because I mean, obviously, he wanted to represent Team Taiwan big time. I'm sure that meant a ton to him, and to get hurt like that, right before it even gets started, really sucks. Was that a hamstring or quad, or I thought it was an oblique?
Oblique.
Yeah, okay, oblique strain. Yeah, so I mean, probably that's not too long, but we're probably not going to see a whole lot of him until late April or something like that. So. Yeah, that is kind of a drag. He was looking, solid, and yeah, I mean, he kind of fits the profile along with Anderson. Like one of those two guys, is a pretty good option to, to come up and shore up the team in case of an injury anywhere but shortstop in the infield. And it's Max Anderson's show now for a little while, so hopefully he can get ready to do that if they need him. But for the most part, it's probably not going to be very impactful on the season unless the Tigers themselves have a major injury, which. We will knock on wood that we don't have, because we've been pretty lucky so far, if we're honest. I mean, Briseño sucks. That I hate to see that. Would have loved to see more of him in camp. This is his second major injury. He's progressed like crazy, despite missing a lot of time. It's not long-term impactful for him, but just a drag. Would have loved to see him get off to a good start this season.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too. The wrist injury is kind of like where it was kind of showing the potential of where it is, and that affects everything he does in terms of his swing, the way he catches the ball.
Was it a tendon? Because I was like, is that a hamate? Was my initial reaction, but it sounded like maybe it's more like a tendon.
I think it was something the sheath. Ulna.
Yes.
The ulnar sheath. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's one I hadn't really heard of before. Although when I was looking into it, it sounds like it's something that's somewhat common among tennis players. So I guess anybody who's swinging hard, this could happen to. And you hope it's
try the X handle bat.
Yeah, you hope it's not a big deal. But
I don't know about that, Sean. I don't think he looks like Joey Bart.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're both big. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's kind of interesting though. Like they're kind of breaking up the trio, right? Like we're projecting McGonigle to the big leagues and Clark to AA or AAA, and Briseño probably down in Lakeland for the next 4 or 5 months. Yeah, but that's the way it goes. You can't always come up together.
Isn't that another learning experience? Yeah,
for sure.
Kevin McGonigle and Max Clark are such a funny odd couple to be pretty tight bros, and for the first time they'll both kind of be having to go their separate ways this year.
Yeah, journey style, but also at the same time, what I will say that I could tell, I think Briseño, from my understanding, doesn't always want to be known as just the third guy. Stand out on his own, and so, that's more than fair. I mean, you're always associated. It's like you're essentially Jordan. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
it's just natural for fans to do that when there's 3 top 50 hitting prospects all at the same level. It's like.
And one of them doesn't speak particularly good English yet and is working on it. It's unfortunate, but that always screws some guys, because they don't get as many interviews. The on-site reporters don't talk to them as much, for that reason. It's not fair. But again, it's just hype too, like Briseño will get his attention because he's going to mash.
And I think, I think he's pretty close with Tyrone Lorenzo, so that's another maybe when he gets back to Erie, those two will, it'll be a reunion unless
He
Lorenzo
seems
goes
pretty tight
bonkers.
with tight with Clark too. Like all that group seems to get along really well. I just want to give a shout out to Evan Woodbury for being the of the official like main long-term beat writers, the one who learned Spanish.
Yeah.
And occasionally digs up some gem as a result.
Yeah. I mean, it also helps that in his personal life he's married to a Spanish person, so that helps big time. And not to mention, and he does. What I like about him a lot is Evan, and I've talked about this a couple times too, is giving an opportunity for these guys to speak, and we're hoping to have that with
Salcedo,
but we haven't gotten her back yet. I guess he's still a little gun shy about everything, but it's okay, no big deal. We'll probably talk to him at some point. But spring breakout roster. So here's what it looks like here, and there's a couple surprises to some people that Bryce Rainer wasn't on, but I still think he's recovering, and that's fine. I mean, one name I was kind of like, was Drew Summers, but I mean, I guess you need lefties. We need them. But I'm one name I'm pumped for is Lucas Elsel, who has been a really sleeper arm. I think he's if he can continue to build this year, that'll be a great arm to see in this tournament. Actually, it's gonna be next year's gonna be a tournament. Sorry, he's gonna be a tournament. Yeah. Moises Rodriguez, who's had a good spring so far in his limited appearances. Tanner Colehep, a guy that we're still kind of. I mean, there's a lot of hype to him, and then he hasn't really lived up to it. But Ty Madden had a good spring debut, and then Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah, that surprised me.
That really surprised me. So it makes me think that he's going to start the year in the FCL, possibly.
Yeah, I think. They have a good idea what they're doing with this thing, right? Like they know the players that people want to see, even if they're not necessarily ready. And they know the players. I think the players are excited about stuff like this, and I think they're even more excited that they're going to have a tournament in the future. But yeah, this is the player pool, right? So from this pool, they're going to pick 23, 27 players, whoever's there. So Summers might be on there, but who knows? He could be pitching in big league camp that day. He could be in Clearwater if they need a lefty to come over. So they wanted to give themselves options because of all the World Baseball Classic stuff going on and people moving around. So yeah, we won't know the final roster. I don't know if we ever will until the day of. But
can we insist? Can we just insist that Lucas Ellisalt gets the start?
I'm assuming it's going to be Ty Madden.
Yeah, it does make more sense to have Madden. And Madden's looked good this spring. That's a guy that we have, nobody's talked a whole lot about.
But you go back last year, I think it was Jake Miller who started, right? And then I think Herter pitched, and then they brought in Troy Melton in like the 7th inning for 1 inning. And we're like,
Yeah.
So, who knows? It's one of the things that people have commented about too is like, where's Andrew Sears? Where's Salcedo? Where's, Malachi Witherspoon? Where's any of these pitchers? And in my mind, it's kind of just like Major League spring training, and guys have days that they're supposed to pitch or be stretched out a little bit, and days where they can go an inning. And I'm just assuming that that's not those days for those guys, but who knows? I don't know what their plan is there.
Yeah, and they take so many, there's just so many minor league invite pitchers. I mean, there's only so much room. Obviously, like getting everyone their reps is always a trick early in camp. I think what are we down to like 51 guys now in Major League camp after 65. So we're starting to get there. But, there's only 2 weeks left. And yeah, I mean, at this point, they're going to have to start, focusing on the guys that matter more and who they're trying to decide between. So we probably won't see too many of them. But yeah, it'd be nice to see a few of these guys, get a bone thrown to them and get to come over and pitch in Major League camp one time. We'd love to see Gabriel Reyes up there. Getting a little look, my buddy. Yeah. And I want to see Carlos Marcano and see if he's still throwing 96, 97. Because if he is, I'm going to get, fairly enthusiastic about him as some kind of a depth starter, middle relief type dude.
Yeah. It's I don't know.
Yosber pitched, didn't he? Yosber pitched.
He did. He got in for one batter, I think. Maybe two batters. He got one out.
Yeah.
So we got another question from Shawnee Patton. More money. Sean, thank you very much. And asking us about Salcedo.
Off the Frickers building.
Salcedo is, yes, he's very, very fun. I try not to get too excited about it because it's low A, and the main thing with him is there are two things, right? The fastball shape is not ideal, even if he's throwing, 95 to 98, and he's just a bigger dude. And we saw the picture of him, work it out, and it didn't look like he lost any weight in the offseason. It's just he might just always be a big dude. And generally speaking, guys like that don't start. It's not a death knell by any means. There's certainly bigger guys who do start, but and I don't know. I go back and forth because part of the reason guys like that don't start is usually they have poor control or trouble repeating their mechanics, and that hasn't been an issue with him. He throws a lot of strikes for a guy he just turned 20. He throws in the upper 90s and has a pretty nasty cutter slider mix and an awesome splitter. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. And yeah, like he could rocket into a top 100 prospect this year if he's looking like a legit big league starter.
Yeah, and he's also a dude though that I mean, if they converted him to relief, to fast track him, no one would be that surprised. I mean, he's kind of built like Kenley Jansen actually, and has some of the same kind of weirdo stuff where you could just turn him loose, and as long as he's throwing strikes, he might be interesting in that regard. But yeah, there's no rush for him. The Tigers have had so much injury trouble with young pitchers that they should probably not mess with him, and just kind of keep him on a nice steady progression. And you can always change your mind at the last minute and move him over to the bullpen if you want.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that was funny. Wentz tore his ACL covering the first and going up to really spine drivers.
The Braves have just been racked by injuries. I mean, we've had our own troubles over here, but geez. And then they had And then they had Profar going down with the second time getting popped, and he's gone for good.
Yeah, they're cursed right now.
Yeah, trouble over there. They won that World Series, and everything's gone wrong ever since.
Yeah,
that's what it costs. That's what it costs, apparently.
Yeah, cost to your soul. Essentially, that's what you're looking at right now. For whatever reason, I'm having a hard time with the layout here. But no, it's I was gonna say another guy. Jake's question: who could be this year's Dylan Smith, a reliever going in Double-A and get to the majors? Marco Jimenez. If Marco Jimenez, so last year the reason why he was in West Michigan for so long and simple is K per 9 wasn't strong enough. It wasn't striking enough guys. If he can get strikeouts up, the stuff is there. I know that the guys were talking about striking out the side against the Blue Jays. If he can make that jump to Double-A and not have any issues, then yeah. But he's got a big arm. But the problem is that the same thing. Is it kind of like where he's going to be like Yosber Sanchez, where it's inconsistent? Who knows? But as far as like reliever wise, right now, I would go out and put him on there early going.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like Moises better because that sinker is going to play so well. Yeah. But Marco Jimenez is he's like a bad fastball guy, but he throws 97, 98. So it's like, if he had a great shape and it was like a big explosive fastball or a huge running sinker, you'd probably, you might put a 65, 70 grade on it, but it's probably like plus-ish. And he's just never really seemed like he's commanded his breaking ball very, very well, which also has probably cost him some whiffs. So some of that is just command, I mean, he has enough stuff clearly. So yeah, hopefully he can spot the sinker and the fastball and look good in general. And yeah, he definitely seems like he could be an option at some point.
It's a strange sinker. It's like a really high spin sinker that's but also like a dead zone. Like it doesn't have a ton of horizontal movement. Like you said, like Moises Rodriguez is getting 19, 20, 21 inches of horizontal break, which is spectacular. And he could come back with a pretty solid slider. And both of those guys, I think, will may start in Double-A, and they could theoretically race through the majors or race to the majors. I think Marco actually has done a pretty good job of throwing strikes. I don't think he walked many people last year. And he
didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
I think Rodriguez still needs a little bit of help in that regard because it's just really hard to command a pitch that moves that much. But yeah, either of those guys, if they're big arms, if they need somebody, those are both great choices. I'm trying to think.
Tyler Madison is still like the guy though. Like, please, for the love of God, just command that fastball. Because I mean, he's popping 20, 21 inches of induced vertical break right now. The breaking ball is still good. He's been hitting 96, 97. I think he might have touched 98. Like if he can locate that thing, you're gonna have a pretty nasty reliever to add into the mix. So he's like please figure it out. He's been injured. He couldn't figure it out for a year or two. Then it was Tommy John, and he came back last year, and it's been a struggle kind of getting it dialed back in. But that's the guy. Like if someone's gonna turn into a really ace reliever who isn't a starter currently, it's probably him. So
So the one's gonna. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, sorry. I was just finishing up on Madison. Yeah, it's just like his delivery, man. It just doesn't feel like he's ever going to be able to like master that arm slot and be able to throw strikes consistently. He does. When you watch his if you watch the scatter plot, it's like his misses are misses. They're Pew! But he does a decent enough job of throwing the fastball at the top of the zone, which is where he generally needs to be. But yeah, if he could figure that out at some point, then yeah, it's the goofiest fastball around, like 2,700 RPM, like you said, 21 IVP, and it's like
it's a wiffle ball,
It's basically straight over the top. His release point is actually, I think, second on the team vertically to Verlander.
Verlander's even higher still.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
And then
and he can do it, but so many of those high arm slot guys cannot. It's like the command is a problem. The shoulder, strain is a problem. We're going to see what Trey Yasevich can do this year, but
Jonah Tong is a similar guy.
Tong,
And the one last week you touched on him briefly, but the one last name, I can't ever quit Tanner Colehep because he also has really goofy stuff.
He does have nasty.
It's mid 90s sinker plus like a 97 mile an hour four seamer. He's got a short little slider. I don't know if it's how you would describe it. It's like a gyro slider or just a cutter or whatever. And then he's got that stupid changeup that's like a fork. I don't know. It's like a 2,600, 2,700 RPM changeup. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But throw strikes and avoids the heart of the plate. He could be interesting too. So they have some options, and you never really know with relievers. They could explode in one month.
So one thing I want to mention,
Colehep has just always been hurt. He's just never been able to hold.
One thing about Moises Rodriguez, and I was saying this to Chris, and I think he reminds me of Jason Foley at West Michigan. Remember how the fastball was flat, a sinker just was a single, kind of like it was getting that bowling ball kind of action. They have very similar to me. They have very similar similarities with that. So if Rodriguez can, I think if he can get some more swing and miss and not have that fastball be so flat, I think that'll help him out this year. But that's where I feel like those two are.
And again, commanding it, that like the more it moves, like the more difficult it is to locate it to different parts of the zone. Sometimes, like Foley had trouble with that for a long time and figured it out, and then has kind of lost it again. So, he's definitely a very interesting reliever. Like, I don't love the breaking ball, but he's one of those dudes that could just absolutely pound everyone with sinkers, and you just wouldn't ever really see anything hit very hard in the air, at least.
Yeah.
So there's a role for a guy like that.
By the way, Matt Boyd is currently pitching in the WBC. By the way, Skubal is going back to the Tigers. That was the whole thing. And that was a back and forth and whatever.
He was agonizing about that. Yeah. I know he was, and they probably shouldn't have made such a big deal about the decision of it. But yeah, I mean, the position he's in, I don't blame him a bit. There's this, it just is what it is. I'm sure he'd love to pitch for Team USA and air it out and be the hero, but he knows he can't do that right now. Yeah. And he's got business here, and then he's got business at the end of the year. So
yeah, Sky.
What are we thinking of Emmanuel De Jesus though? Let's just hit on that because I really think I mean, we look at the bullpen and you've got Vest, Jansen, Finnegan, you've got Drew Anderson, you got Tyler Holton. So there's 3 spots left, and I Herder probably deserves a spot too. I don't care if they take both the lefties and have Anderson, Herder, and De Jesus to go multiple innings and keep the start short for guys early in the season. But Emmanuel De Jesus is looking like prime Jose Quintana, slightly not quite that good, but that's what he's reminding me quite a bit of. And he's pitching his tail off, and he's got a $1.3 million deal if he makes the major league roster. So that there's an opt out for him, if he's not on the major league roster by the end of April probably. So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking at him to make the team, and it's really more of a question of who that last reliever is, and no one making a huge case. So I'm kind of defaulting to Hannafy just because he's on the 40, but I don't know, someone could take that last spot in the next 2 weeks, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's where the problem is too is I think what's nice about Jesus is a little different look than Tyler Holden, and it gives a little opportunity to use Tyler Holden more specialty role because I think it kind of reminds me of Everyday Guerrero, who was pitched quite a bit for 3 seasons for the Twins. So I mentioned that in the YouTube channel. I think it was last week, and I thought about it, and we mentioned it before. Everyday Eddie, and it was the same thing with kind of almost to a certain extent with Everyday Tyler, but Emmanuel De Jesus, that fastball on the top part of the zone really plays up really well. I mean, he's been able to hit that part of the top strike zone and get a lot of swings and misses with it. And he's a guy who I think could be a good ultimate swingman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's commanding everything really well. The changeup and slider both. He's just eating the edges. He's really looked good. Really looked good.
Yeah, he was giving me some like Eduardo Rodriguez vibes. Like it's this lefty who's just he's it's low 90s, you get up to 93, 94, but just mixing everything and keeping guys off balance. And yeah, I mean he's getting swings and misses with basically all 5 of his pitches. Maybe not the four seamer as much, but yeah, I don't know. Like that's a tough one because I think he would definitely help them as the long man, but I wonder if they value him more as a potential replacement starter. I don't know. You put him in Toledo and he's the first man up, or I don't know. How many of those guys do you need? You got Montero, you got Madden.
That's my question. Like if you have 3 or 4 long types in the bullpen, because you've got Anderson there too, and Herter can go multiple innings. Do you even need to have a guy stretched out? Like would the Tigers even do that, or would they just pitch and chaos it up for a turn or two through the rotation? I don't know. I mean, you could use Montero in the bullpen and send DeJesus down if you just figure like Herter's good enough in the pen. But yeah, I mean, I kind of look at Holton as sort of like the high leverage lefty, sort of. More likely to pitch the late innings, but there's options. I mean, the depth is looking quite good right now.
I think Sean Gunther has looked very Sean Gunther-ish so far. Like he's
a little more juice too.
Yeah, he's I think 4 games now and 1 hit, no strikeouts, no walks, just a bunch of ground balls and a bunch of outs. Like that was a guy. I don't know. It is tough. I do feel like it's down to Jesus, but I've gone back and forth. Like, for a minute, I was like, hey, Birch Smith looks pretty solid. And then, he's getting hard. And Vanasco, we talked about him earlier, has really nasty stuff if he can throw strikes. He's never thrown strikes, though. So it's like, do you bring that guy north?
Too.
Tanner Rainey,
pretty good stuff, but never has thrown strikes, really.
I guess of the guys we've seen a bunch of, like Pilkington hasn't really stood out to me much at all. Efros, not really either. Like the arm angle doesn't seem to be fooling anybody. I'm trying to think who else.
Jack Little has like 3 average pitches and is like maybe usable, but doesn't really pop with anything in particular. Yeah, I don't know.
I think his standout is like, I think he gets a pretty good extension because he's really like a low release guy. Like gets down the mound but it's still only like 92, 94 and I don't know. I mean,
he's getting healthy. Trey Melton.
Yeah, that would help.
Adding Trey Melton to this bullpen, with that group would just be, chef's kiss. Like I think we'd be rolling. So, didn't we hear? I swear I saw that Trey Melton was like doing some like light plyo ball workouts and stuff like that, which. And I can't remember if that was a legit source, and I'd have to go look for that. But I did see it, and I don't know if he's doing anything like that. That's probably a pretty good sign that that they're convinced it's not a major injury. There's been such a push this offseason. I've never seen so many articles about like early season workload and the amount of injuries that happen early in camp. And I can't help thinking that like maybe teams are finally catching on to the fact that like. Maybe some guys just need 2 months to ramp up and they need to ramp up much more slowly. And if there's like the slightest sign of inflammation or any problem, like, nope, we're just going to shut them down for, 2-3 weeks and just restart the process. So I don't know, all these topics have been on my mind, but yeah, I would really, really love to see Trey Melton come out of this and not miss too much time. That would be hugely helpful to this bullpen.
So I see. Sorry. Go ahead. I see a note from Evan and some other people, quote from AJ Hinch. They asked any new information on Troy Melton, and he said not really plyo ball stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay, it was AJ Hinch. Well, that's a reasonable source.
Decent source.
Yeah. I mean, if they think he's got an elbow sprain, I don't think he's doing plyo ball stuff. That's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. I might regret that one.
Well, I mean, here's the thing too with like, I would like to see maybe something outside of like. Perhaps wouldn't mind seeing Andrew Sears, like just something going on. Like I can't wait to get there next week to see why we haven't heard about some of these guys either. Like
I thought we'd see Sears like at least get a look in major league camp, and haven't seen him. Obviously Miller's still rehabbing the hips. Everybody has a hip injury this spring. Alex Cobb left some kind of residue behind, and Dugan Darnell's got a hip problem. Sawyer's got hip problems. There's a lot of hip problems for young men here.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is I don't think we have seen any starting pitching prospects yet.
No.
We've seen some of the relief prospects. We talked about Rodriguez and stuff, and we've seen like Luke Stoffel. I think got into a game. Like he started a little bit last year, but I don't know. We haven't seen Marcano or any of these guys really. So
yeah,
I'm crossing my fingers that Andrew Sears isn't hurt and that he's not missing from the rosters because he's.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
We haven't seen Kenny Serwa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought they might have a little knuckleball fun, at some point in camp with him.
Yeah. You never know. Like I think sometimes you see that later on in spring when
that's true. Yeah.
Some of the lesser known guys pop up in these, the 7th, 8th, 9th innings of these late spring training games just because they weren't over in the minor league camp.
Yeah, and because they're like, they've got everybody else on such a schedule by then, and the starters are stretched out. That they're just like, we're not going to use this guy because he wasn't scheduled. We'll just give one of the kids a look. Not that Kenny Sir was a kid necessarily, but I'm 51. So everyone's a kid.
Well, I mean, like at the same time too, like you would love to, what should we call it? As far as like him goes, I would think you would just put him out there in a couple innings, just sort of like just put the knuckleball and see what he can do. And
I kind of would like to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen all these videos of him everywhere else, but on the field.
I know Kenny Serwa has a lot of hype, and I hope, I know like I've got a bunch of readers who are like, like, why don't you talk about Kenny Serwa enough? And I'm just like, it's let's I mean, it's fun. It's a fun story. I just, I'm not particularly convinced yet. So, let's just kind of see how it goes. It's just that, knuckleballer, like it's just so much fun.
People love a knuckleballer.
We haven't seen Joe Miller yet either. No one's talking, what about Joe Miller? I didn't get any love.
Yeah, he was.
You have questions about Joe Miller?
No, he's pointing out that like people are asking about Kenny Serwa and not Joe Miller.
But not Joe Miller.
Roughly the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say, I'm like, did I miss something?
In terms of their likelihood of a successful and long major league career, I don't there's not much difference there. But knuckleballer, got to get hype, and it's fun. I love a trick pitch.
Yeah, but
I wrote that whole thing about Kenley Jansen's cut fastball because it's such an absolute freak show still.
Yeah.
You love to find a pitch that like why can no one else do this? Like no one else can throw a cutter that rides. Like there just isn't one. There's only Kenley Jansen. And maybe Michael Massey if he can stay healthy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's another guy. You have one mind seen either.
Nope.
Yeah,
I know. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a question. That's what you guys are going to be hunting for, right? Like, take me to Owen Hall. Take me to Ethan Scheffelbein. Where are these guys? Is everybody all right? What's going on down here? Where's Paul Wilson?
Yeah, Zach Swanson.
Yeah, where's Zach Swanson?
Andrew Dunford.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like Mordecai Three Finger Brown. Like he must have had some funky metrics on his stuff because he only had 3 fingers.
Back in the old days, we'd just break their fingers to give them a little bit of a different, look. Yeah. When you were a boy, you got a couple fingers broken, and we just left them that way. No one complained.
He had rickets, and it helped him throw.
What other podcast you're gonna hear about 3 Fingers Brown?
Yeah. Well, never mind.
All right. Sizer is Kaiser. There we go.
Yeah. Kenny Serwa secretly runs the entire farm system.
On that note, though, if you're watching the World Baseball Classic, by the way, I was going to say final thoughts on the World Baseball Classic so far. If you guys have partaked in any of it, I know that the Team Israel was eliminated today. Mexico and the United States, you pretty much right now it is gone. It's Mexico. USA's up 5-1 in the top of the
5-2 now. Looks like Boyd is struggling.
Yeah.
Cuba is being shut out by Puerto Rico right now, on top of 6, 4-0. Great Britain beat Brazil 8-1 earlier today. Colombia, again, heartbreaking loss for Panama, who lost on a game-winning home run by Puerto Rico, beats Panama 4-3, and Korea beat Australia 7-2, and that's Jemai Jones, who's been playing for them. So
it's been fun so far. I haven't been 100% locked in, but yeah, I mean, people should check it out. From now to the end of it, it's going to be an absolute, blast. Like the fan bases are just going insane. It's the best time, and we always seem to see people show out. We've already seen some incredible plays. There's always been like the 17-year-old who comes up and strikes out a bunch of all-star major leaguers. Yeah, and then you got Juan Soto. Like, who were they playing? Where they were trying to take him out of the game, and he's like, "No, if I hit a home run, we eliminate them on on the score, whatever it is, the mercy rule thing.
The Netherlands, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So Pujols lets him go up and hit again, and he hits a bomb, and and does the trick. It eliminates him. There's just it's just such a great tournament. It's just too bad it is where it is. Great to find a part of the season where this could fit more easily.
It's been like we've got a Shohei Ohtani grand slam. We've got 2 walk-off home runs. They'd never had one, and there were 2 in one day. You got, like you said, all these stars doing things. And today, poor Australia had to not lose by more than 4 runs, and they lost by 5 runs in the 9th inning. Jack O'Loughlin gave up a sac fly after pitching like 3 1/3 scoreless, and so they don't move on. Yeah, a lot of, and you see these players from these other countries really care. Like, they don't have the $15 million or $20 million salary to go back home to. I mean, some of the guys from Japan are probably making pretty good coin, but a lot of these guys are just minor leaguers.
Guys playing part time, and Jack O'Loughlin, amazing to see him.
The guy for Great Britain who was pitching he got through the order the one time. They said he hasn't pitched an organized ball in like 3 years.
Yeah.
He was out there throwing these change-ups that they couldn't hit. It was like, it's just fun. My brother is he's a Tigers fan, not a huge baseball fan in general, but he's been glued to the World Baseball Classic. So I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
There's I mean, we saw old friend Chavez Fernandez who allowed that big.
Oh
yeah.
Chavez Fernandez. Yeah, Jed asked for a scouting report, and I didn't see the question until after. So all I did was send him the picture of him giving up an 800-foot home run to James Wood.
Yeah, but it's also just funny to see like the eligibility and like find out where everybody's from, and like, oh, so and so's great grandfather like fought for the Netherlands and some obscure war, and so he's eligible.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you see, like, it still is weird to me that Austin Wells is on the Dominican Republic. Like,
yeah,
I don't.
Well, and then you see Jazz Chisholm for Great Britain. Like it makes total sense when you realize it, but at first you're like, what?
Well,
so. Why? Here's a question: why is Austin Wells on the Dominican Republic?
I think, well, not to put too fine a point on it, but Dominicans don't play catcher. Like, they don't. They want to be shortstops and outfielders and pitchers, and I'm sure there's been some great Dominican catchers, but Venezuela is the catching stronghold, right? Like,
maybe Puerto Rico. Yeah.
I was gonna say Puerto Rico is usually the case.
Yeah, but so I'm sure Austin. Well, I haven't looked it up. Maybe he has a Dominican mom or dad. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter to find out right now. But yeah, I mean, you look at him.
Austin Wells. Yeah.
You look at him, and he looks more Italian than Dominican.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chris. That was kind of funny though, because it was like he was the one guy on the team. He was like, like somebody's sister married this dude, and okay, well now he's invited. He's invited to the barbecue. Cool.
His mother Michelle is of Dominican descent. She was a gymnast, but I don't know. Yeah, so that counts. There you go.
Yeah, there's always funny ones like that because, like, like Kenley Jansen's like WBC debut was like the catcher for Team Netherlands like 20 years ago. The Netherlands. It's like, Trinidad, man, Trinidad and Tobago.
I forgot about that. No, but
like getting a whole crash course on colonialism, post colonial politics or something here.
When I see Team Netherlands, I'm like, wait a minute, there's nobody like that in the Netherlands, right? And then I forgot about the island,
Curacao.
Curacao.
Yeah.
That was my
Curacao. Sorry,
I never heard of Curacao until baseball. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and the Netherlands does have they do play baseball. They have the honk ball. I think they like it a lot, but I don't know if there's a ton of actual Dutch people in there rather than the colonized.
I hope they get stoked though. It's fun seeing like like various countries around the world just like suddenly like, oh, I didn't even know anybody played baseball there. Like maybe the Netherlands, like their gimmick would be that instead of outfield walls, you just have like a dike or a canal out there. And the only way to like make a home run catch is like stick the pole in and do the jump and all that. And find all kinds of variations.
Yeah.
All right. Silly town. All right.
Yeah. So shout out to Jonathan.
Jonathan Scope. Yeah, I think his brother is playing for the Netherlands.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. So next week will be our final show before we'll take off on Wednesday, and then we'll probably end up doing something in the middle of the week, probably do a live stream of some sort in nicer weather because you can do that down there. And we'll keep you posted on our itinerary, if you will. We'll also be trying out some local food spots. And shout out to, again, everybody. Thank you for donating. You can still donate to. There's a GoFundMe on our Twitter. That again goes a long way. Thank you for all the donations tonight as well. And I'm stoked for it because hopefully we make this a yearly tradition. Go down to spring breakout next year for the tournament. And the itinerary will be up sooner or later as soon as we find out what's going on. And hopefully it's in Lakeland next year. They haven't home one yet, have they? No.
They did the first year. It was in Lakeland.
It was. I thought it was in Atlanta. They did it.
Atlanta was last year. I think this is the third year of Spring Breakout.
Is this?
Yeah.
Oh, is it third year? Oh,
yeah.
I think. Yeah, I want to say the first year Jace Young hit 2 home runs. Was that last year?
I thought it was last year.
No, I think that was 2 years ago. Didn't we start with the Phillies and then last year it was
the Phillies? Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's the third.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but next year tournament, which is fun.
Yeah.
That should be an interesting idea.
I'm still curious how they're going to make that work.
Yeah.
Like, what they probably end up doing is they'll probably do it like they have with the regular season right now. So you would probably have, for example, Cleveland in some sort of form. Well, no, because never mind, because Cleveland's in Arizona. But that was gonna say that would have been cool to see, though. I mean, like, because they play Cleveland 800 times, anyways. So. Adam, the Erie roster is not out for another 2 weeks. It won't be out till probably the 21st or 22nd. So, who knows? If we get a hold of it ahead of time, we'll let you know for sure. Yeah. But stay close, everybody. We'll talk to you next week, and have a good night.